Hey guys, welcome back to Roblox Money. Today we'll talk about why Square Enix is going to release Final Fantasy XVI in Roblox. Let's head into it. Number 6. Final Fantasy XVI in Roblox. Final Fantasy XVI is happening officially, announced with a shiny new trailer during the PS5 showcase. The next entry in the series is set to be exclusive to a PlayStation console that Square Enix confirmed is currently only set to come to the PS5. Recent projects surrounding the series, hints provided by director Naoki Yoshida of Final Fantasy XIV, and a possibly official Twitter account give us some idea of where the Final Fantasy series is planned by Square Enix, and one of the hints showed that there's probably going to be a Roblox game edition. Number 5. Final Fantasy XVI release date. Historically, a new console generation means a new Final Fantasy, and we have both a PS5 and Xbox Series X, and now we know that Final Fantasy XVI is going to be an exclusive PS5 PlayStation console. Square Enix also confirmed that no further information is currently available on whether the next entry in the series will come to other platforms after the PC reference was shown during the showcase. So far, no release date has been revealed, but more data is currently planned to be revealed in 2021. On April 1, 2019, a job listing appeared on the official website of Square Enix. Square was looking for developers to work on a Final Fantasy XIV follow-up project there. In addition, the initial planning was said to have been completed already, with the division looking to shift into full-scale growth, so it shouldn't take much longer to finally release the game. And since Roblox is quite hyped right now, it seemed obvious that it would be the perfect time to release a Roblox version of the game along with the regular game. Number 4. Final Fantasy XVI setting. Back to the roots. Several Western journalists asked Yoshida what his vision of Final Fantasy XVI would look like during the Final Fantasy Fan Fest 2019 in Paris. This yielded two important pieces via Silicon Era of information. For one, Yoshida doesn't believe any Final Fantasy title is going to be an MMO in the near future. This makes sense, since Final Fantasy XIV is doing just fine, there is no need for its own ranks to compete. Second, with the fewer machines, he would like to use a high fantasy setting for the next Final Fantasy. Most Final Fantasy games use a fantasy setting with steampunk elements, such as mechanical soldiers and airships, but there was a very modern style, especially Final Fantasy XIII and XV, both of which arguably underperformed. In particular, Final Fantasy XV's modern realm of Eos is strongly inspired by North America. In the vein of previous games, such as Final Fantasy IX and XII, it seems prudent to go the opposite way and try something a little more traditional. And since most Roblox players love exactly that style, releasing it to Roblox and earning even more money would be the perfect decision. Number 3. Final Fantasy XVI features. Here's what fans want. First things first, they want a version of it in Roblox, period. In addition, a series that is continually ahead of the rest of the world of JRPG is Final Fantasy, as well as the first single-player Final Fantasy with a multiplayer mode and story DLC. FF15 was the first Final Fantasy with an open-world environment. Final Fantasy XV set out to redefine the series by taking inspiration from Western RPGs that have already used these features. While the response was combined overall, the game did a lot of things right. The next part could do some things to further enhance existing ideas. Number 2. A fixed open world. Nearly every RPG has an open world these days, to the growing exhaustion of many players. In general, if done right, there is nothing to be said against the open world setting. A frequent criticism of the open world in Final Fantasy XV was that there were simply not enough interesting things to do. Quests were mostly fetched quests that had no effect on the world at large, and driving around in the regalia robbed the plot of its urgency instead of making sure Noctis reached his goal. In the world of Eos, too, seems to be mostly motorways, with fans missing cities to explore and talking to more characters. Overall, the possible solution appears to be a denser, more interesting world with more interaction possibilities, as well as side quests with their own real storylines. And since Roblox is known for the ability to design epic worlds in it, it proves once again that a Roblox version of it will most likely exist. Number 1. The combat system. Your AI companions play a central role in FF15. Their banter is automated, Ignis drives you around, and even with the control of the characters other than Noctis later being patched in. Without your intervention, anyone you don't control fights for you. This turned Final Fantasy XV, as well as the often unhelpful camera, into a game that is often beyond your control. In particular, combat often feels either cluttered or a bit uninspiring because of how little input it needs from you. All-round based combat is making a comeback elsewhere through the games, such as Persona 5 or the newest entry in the Yakuza franchise. Perhaps it's not necessary to go that far back. A pleasant mix between tactical combat and AI-controlled teammates was offered by the Active Dimension battle system used by Final Fantasy XII. You can ask any Roblox player what their favorite parts about Roblox are, and I promise you, all of them will mention the combat system and the ability to fight against each other in various minigames. It's just epic. The only thing that's more epic would be to play Final Fantasy XVI in Roblox, which will probably be possible soon, as we've just explained. What do you think about Final Fantasy XVI? Do you think Square Enix is going to release it in Roblox? Let us know in the comment section. This brings us to the end of our video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit like if you did, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss any of our videos in the future. Also, watch the 2 videos that are on your screen because I'm sure you'll love them. With that, I'll see you in the next video.